Happy Tuesday and welcome everyone. I'm Pratik Patel, a technology consultant with Ingram Micro and your host for today's Tech Talk Tuesday. As we kick off another year, let's dive into the cutting edge world of technology together. We'll be exploring the latest innovations in an effort to uncover new ways to engage your customers and identify the best solutions and services to increase your revenue. From what I'm seeing in the marketplace today, sustainability is becoming an increasingly important, as business decisions in the world of the data center, whether it's a large or a small data center. The fact is, data centers are vital to the modern economy because they serve as the infrastructure that powers every business and organization. However, to do that, it's estimated that the data centers currently account for approximately 1.3% of global energy consumption. Yeah. And this number is only going to continue to grow. And really, making them a major consumer of energy and resources, and not to mention their carbon footprint can be significant. But the fact is, sustainability is not just an environmental issue, it's also a business issue. Companies that prioritize sustainability tend to be more financially successful and have a competitive advantage. By embracing sustainability initiatives, consumers and their data centers can reduce their operating costs and even improve their bottom line. As such, sustainability is becoming an increasingly important consideration in the design and operation of data centers, and it's likely to continue to grow in its importance throughout the years. So my goal today is to help you understand how sustainability plays that critical role when it comes to business. And to help make sense of it all, joining me today are Mirena Tamako, and a ESG Global Channel Partner, Success Manager with Lenovo. Hello, Marini. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us about your role and the Lenovo 360 Circle?
Sorry, my mic is muted. Thank you so much, Pratik. Hi, everyone. My name is Marini Tamako. I'm the ESG Global Channel Partner Success Manager at Lenovo. So I sit in the Lenovo 360 Circle team, which is a new team within the international sales organization at Lenovo. And what we are trying to do is build a community of Lenovo and its channel partners to drive sustainability impacts across our industry. So we are actively collaborating with our channel partners, including Ingram, who's a founding partner of the Lenovo 360 Circle, and to align our mutual sustainability initiatives and seek to accelerate our impact on sustainability issues.
Perfect. Thank you, Marini. Next, we have Etienne Gadian, an enterprise architect with CloudLogic. I'm so glad you could join us again. Could you tell us about your role and also, why do you believe sustainability is an important topic for channel partners?
Absolutely. Thank you, Pratik. As many of you know, CloudLogic was acquired by Ingram Micro about 18 months ago, and I'm one of the founders of that business. We are really excited to be part of Ingram Micro because we bring a background of being able to help organizations figure out how to deliver hybrid data centers and how to do that across a portfolio of capabilities, and then to help them figure out which applications and infrastructure makes sense to run in each environment. So we're really excited about our ability to work with Ingram's partners. Prior to that, I came from having run an IT strategy business for a $1 billion Ingram channel partner.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Etienne. And finally, we have John Kane, or better known from our partner community is Jack Kane. I'm glad Jack has a really simple name and I can pronounce it without having any problems. So appreciate you being here. Could you tell us about your role and how that role really is vital for the channel partners and VARs that are on the call today?
Of course. Hey everybody, I'm Jack from the Lenovo server team. I'm the support rep for the team, and my focus is going to be for warranties. A lot of the things I do day to day are work through partners with renewals, registrations, and kind of understanding contracts. And this is going to be a learning experience to me too, just about the whole sustainability portion. I've seen those SKUs come up, so I'd love to have a better understanding, and I'll learn how I can help everybody along with those types of experiences too.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Jack. And Jack is going to be instrumental because we're going to be doing a demo at the end, and he's going to show us some of the common tools. So definitely, stick around for that. But A little bit of mechanics before we begin. We'll share the recording once it's posted on YouTube, which usually takes about a week or two. So, we'll definitely reach out to you once it's posted. Next, today is all about you, basically trying to help you have that deeper engagement with your customers. So please put all your questions into the Teams chat box. Marini, let me begin with you. Why are environmental, social, and governance, which we better known as ESG, and sustainability important for Lenovo?
Thanks for that question, Pratik. So at Lenovo, we are focused on providing smarter technology that builds a brighter, more sustainable future for our customers, our colleagues, our communities, and the planet. So we have a responsibility to all our stakeholders to make progress on our climate change commitments, to have a positive impact on the communities where we do business, and ultimately to be a model corporate citizen in our ethical behaviors. So we recognize that we can make the world more sustainable through the many innovative applications of our technology that continue to benefit the environment and the health of communities around the world. As a bit of history, we released our first sustainability report in 2006, and that's also when we first set our climate change goals. And over the last 15 years, we focused on building a strong ESG operating structure supported by critical sustainability programs and initiatives. So our structure is composed of three main parts. So the first being the environmental affairs section, where we look at topics like climate change, energy management, product materials, including chemical restrictions and recycled content, product end-of-life management, product energy efficiency, water resource management, etc. And then we also have the social impact / employee engagement angle, where we look at issues such as DEI, human rights and labor standards, occupational health and safety, philanthropy, and HR policies and practices. And then the last bit is the G. So that's where we look at issues of reporting, communications, ethics and compliance, privacy and data security, ISO management system, audits, etc. So our efforts today are focused on building resilience and addressing the challenges of humanity that we all face. So it is important for Lenovo to integrate the values related to sustainable development in all of our business units and support functions. As today, the notion of sustainability is present throughout every organization and even beyond our own organization. So our Chief Corporate Social Responsibility Officer is in charge of our sustainability strategy at group level and reports into an executive oversight committee as well. So as you can see, it cuts across business end to end across a variety of issues, and it's really at the heart of what we do.
Okay, so that sounds like great for Lenovo, but why is this really important for my channel partners? Well, why should they care?
Definitely. So in today's world that we are in, I mean, if you look at the climate right now, there's a lot of changes going on. If you look at social issues, there's a lot of social unrest, there's a lot of inequality. So it's very important for us to come together and work together on this, right? If you look at two of the single biggest issues that face the IT industry, it's e-waste and it's also carbon emissions. Like if you think about cloud, you think about cloud efficiency, or you think about, mounting e-waste in landfills. We can't, as a vendor, take care of that issue as well. So we need to work with our channel partners. If we are going to make the circular economy happen, it has to be end to end, trying to, get devices back to make sure that we are reusing them. So I'll talk more about asset recovery services later. And even when it comes to carbon emissions, right, it's getting insights from you, being able to get the word out to customers on all the innovations we have around energy efficiency. So it's a wide range of issues, and you can't tackle sustainability alone, and neither can you tackle it alone, right? So the idea of sustainability in and of itself is working together as an ecosystem. And that's also what we're trying to do through the Lenovo 360 Circle.
Okay, so then Marini, what will be the key sustainability topics or trends, in the IT sector moving forward?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, following up on what we said. So in our opinion, in my opinion, I would say there are about 4 key questions. So the first would be reducing greenhouse gas emissions / science-based emission reduction targets. And I think just a few days ago, actually, we announced that we had set our net zero targets aligned to the SBTi. And so we have set these aggressive goals to limit our greenhouse gas emissions. And we've worked with the SBTi to do this with their new net zero methodology, as I said. And our 2030 targets were set prior to us achieving our Scope 1 and 2 targets, which we set within 2009 and 2010. And our 2030 targets, as I said, have been approved by SBTi. And then the other one is on sustainable product design, enhancing the use of post-consumer recycled materials. So the development of revolutionary supply chains, product design, and materials have enabled Lenovo to shift to a circular model of design, use, and return. So by 2025, 2026, 100% of our PC products will contain post-consumer recycled content materials. And also our products are constantly being evaluated for ease of disassembly and recycling as part of the circular economy. And Lenovo uses closed loop post-consumer recycled content in 200 plus products now. For example, the ThinkPad Z series features more sustainable materials such as recycled aluminum or recycled black vegan leather. And sustainability also extends to packaging, which is made of 100% recycled bamboo and sugarcane materials. In terms of sustainable packaging, which is the third key topic I'd like to talk about, our packaging engineers, they never stop talking about and thinking about ways that we can make our packaging more sustainable through the elimination of plastic and use of recycled materials. So we have leveraged innovative design to eliminate 50 tons of plastic take from our ThinkPad packaging annually. And since 2008, Lenovo has eliminated 3,240 metric tons of packaging by weight. So 100% of all cardboard used by Lenovo now is recyclable. And adopting sustainable materials like sugarcane and bamboo, as I mentioned earlier, whilst looking at holistic opportunities for sustainability and moving away from plastic, styrofoam, etc., is key to us. The last bit, as we all know, and in the tech industry, is diversity and inclusion. So we champion diversity and inclusion through the products and services that we provide, the values we foster, and our internal practices. So innovating from a diverse world requires a diversity of perspective and backgrounds. As such, diversity is a key business imperative at Lenovo. So we are focused on creating an internal pipeline of diverse leaderships through various ERGs, including Mosaic, Women's Leadership Development Program, etc. So our 13 ERGs, as I mentioned, continue to promote diversity and inclusion throughout the business. And we've also recently started ramping up our supplier diversity efforts as well.
Okay, so along those lines, could you explain why Lenovo believes this is important for my channel partners and VARs, as they're really talking with their customers about the next deal or the next opportunity?
Definitely. So customers today are very keen on sustainability outcomes. So as I mentioned, talking about the materials that go into the products that we make, the energy efficiency of products, or even your diversity and inclusion targets. And it's not just that they care about it, but it's also becoming law. So we do have a lot of regulations around circular economy now, whether it's like public procurement criteria, currently in Europe, but soon we'll be catching up in North America as well. And also particularly if you look at RFPs now, there's a lot of ESG sustainability criteria within RFPs. So it's very essential that we understand what we Lenovo are doing and what you are also doing, and how we communicate that effectively to customers, and also how we bring back what customers are demanding into the business so that we continuously innovate to meet their needs. And beyond us and customers, it's a worldwide issue, right? So it's situating this within the context of global challenges and making sure that we are working to support our planet, and we are working to support people within our communities who could be left behind.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Shifting gears a little bit here, ATN. I hear analysts are saying that the future of cloud is hybrid multi-cloud. What are your thoughts on this? And really, plus, how do you think that hybrid cloud and sustainability, multi-cloud, all that are really connected?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pratik. In order to address it, we just heard Marini speak from very much a supply side perspective, the things that Lenovo is doing to get ahead of the problem. I'd like to tackle it from the demand side. I'd like to cover it from what the customers are doing and why. And so if it's okay with you, I'd love to show a couple of stats so that we talk a little bit about why it's relevant to the partners and ultimately how a partner can use this to differentiate themselves.
Oh,
So
sure, definitely.
so when we sit down and look at hybrid multi-cloud, one of the questions is, well, who cares about sustainability? I mean, why do my customers care about it? And one of the things that was really interesting is that in 2011, 1 in 5 of the Fortune 500, 20%, had a sustainability initiative that was part of their strategic business plan. 3 years or 4 years ago now, actually 5 years ago, in 2018, 86% of the Fortune 500 has a sustainability initiative that is part of their focus. And I mean, you mentioned it earlier on, companies that focus on sustainability find that they are more competitive, find that they are able to gain goodwill from the public. But now they're being accountable to their boards. And this is a huge, huge problem, because when you sit down and you think about it, only 1 in 4 of those, 86%, actually have anything in terms of a plan towards Scope 3 emissions. Now, what's Scope 3? And Marina also spoke to Scope 1 and Scope 2. So let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about hybrid data center. Today, Scope 1 refers to the direct emissions that your business creates. So if you think about it, Scope 1 is I have a manufacturing plant. It puts carbon in the air. That's Scope 1. Scope 2 actually describes emissions indirectly that you create. That might be from the utilities that the company purchases, or if I hire a logistics company, the carbon that their vehicles create. That's Scope 2. And then Scope 3 is all of the other indirect emissions that happen as part of your value chain. So a lot of organizations are focusing strongly on Scope 1 and Scope 2, and we just heard the ways that Lenovo is doing that. And by the way, that's exciting. That's to be very positively viewed. But almost none of them, literally 1 in 4, only 1 in 4, have any sort of concept around how to address Scope 3. And spoiler alert, as we look at the cloud, we can actually address Scope 3. So where does that take us? When we sit down and actually look at hybrid data center, one of the realities of organizations that run their own data centers is that they are very, very inefficient. Even with all of the efficiency gains that our manufacturers have helped them create, we go look at all the things that they've done in the data center. 451 Research did a study 2 years ago, and they found that the average $10 million to $1 billion U.S. enterprise today only has roughly 50% of their environment virtualized. This is really important to point out, because for non-virtualized servers, my typical utilization is under 20%. And it takes them roughly for over 4 to 5 months in order to adopt new servers. So the challenge that we have is that where we've let enterprises run their own data centers, they still continue to do so in a relatively inefficient manner compared to other options. So does that mean we should throw out all their data centers and take them all to cloud? No, of course, it's not realistic. So what we can do, though, is build a portfolio approach where we make a combination of facilities that they own to host certain capabilities, ideally with Lenovo infrastructure, co-location facilities where we can improve the power consumption, we can improve the efficiency of the underlying infrastructure, also excellent location to put Lenovo infrastructure, and then use public cloud to drive innovation, because as you will see, the public cloud capabilities can really, really change the game around Scope 2 and Scope 3 types of emissions. And so that's really a starting point. Hybrid unlocks and gives them a capability to be able to drive that as a new option. And when we start to look at why that is, we start to look at the question of efficiency, and we'll come to that later.
Perfect. Yeah. So building on those points, ATN, what does the current enterprise data center look like?
Yeah. So when we sit down and actually look at it, we can break up sustainability in 3 major ways, and we'll talk to each one of them. One of them is PUE. So you'll hear data center guys talk about PUE, and I'm going to talk about what that is in just a moment. Another one is how there is carbon generation, and so we can talk about how the cloud changes the entire perspective on carbon generation, especially in the way that you generate electricity. And then last but not least, an enterprise and being able to consume renewable sources. So let's take a look at that really quickly if we can. We'll take a look at, from a PUE perspective, I'm sure all of you want to talk about electrical power in your data center after lunch. But if you'll bear with me for a second, this is actually very, very interesting stuff. For every 1 watt that a data center server consumes, we have to generate in excess of another watt of power just for the power and cooling, for the support infrastructure, for all of these things. And as you're about to see, the differences between what the public cloud providers do and what the traditional data center does are well over 65% different. So when you sit down and actually look at what are these numbers, so Google publicly advertises that they have a PUE of 1.12. And what that means, by the way, you'll notice that you see the 1.12 and the 2.12. That means for every 1 watt of power that is consumed by a server or a storage array in their data center, they have to generate another 1.12, so 2.212 watts of power. So they're almost 1-to-1 parity. So when you sit down and look at that, go, well, that's really inefficient if I have to generate 2 watts for every watt I use. But that's as good as we get. When you sit down and actually look at what a highly optimized data center, someone who's doing hot aisle and cold aisle and all these really cool initiatives in terms of water cooling or gel cooling and all the really cool things we're doing, we're seeing PUEs of 1.8, which means that for every 1 watt they're generating, they're consuming almost 3 watts. And by the way, for a more traditional data center where they haven't gone to the latest technologies, we're seeing for every 1 watt consumed, they're consuming almost 4 watts. So if you think about that, that is less than 30% utilization of what you're actually consuming. You're having to generate 3.5 watts of power for every, 2.5 watts of power for every watt you're consuming. So if I'm inefficient to begin with, I have to generate a lot more electricity than I need, and that creates carbon. So that's the first problem, is traditional data centers are already wildly inefficient by having to generate way more power than they actually consume because of all the support components. But it goes further than that, because if I'm having to generate all that extra power, what does that mean in terms of carbon? And so one of the things that we've seen in terms of traditional data centers versus, I'm using AWS as an example, but all of the different clouds are similar in this fashion. A traditional data center generates roughly 100% of its electrical power from carbon-based sources. Yes, we're seeing now in the last couple of years, we're seeing some initiatives where they're using some wind power, they're using some hydro. Large enterprises are starting to locate in the Columbia River Basin because you can get hydropower there very cheaply. So that's great, and that is a start. But if we use the enterprise baseline for carbon emissions at 100%, what we're seeing the public clouds do is to rethink the entire problem. And so because they can do that combination of 3 things I described, 61% of carbon reduction by being able to be very, very efficient in terms of how they utilize and drive utilization in their virtualized environment, because the cloud's 100% virtualized. So they're going to gain almost 61% carbon reduction. When you look at how they're doing because of the PUE difference, we're seeing roughly an 11% carbon reduction. That doesn't count the electricity piece. And then because of the electricity piece, we're seeing an additional 17%, which means that when you look at carbon emissions that come out of a public cloud data center, it's literally 1/8 of what we see in a traditional enterprise data center. And so going back to that question, well, why don't we just move everything into the cloud? It's not realistic. And I do this all day, every day. I help organizations figure out what makes sense to go in the cloud. And that's why when you start to look at how do we build a hybrid data center, if I can build a co-location facility, or I can deploy into a facility that's near my public cloud provider, I can do some very interesting things with my portfolio. And that starts to change the game. And it also allows and enables, when we combine it with improved data center initiatives, the things that we're seeing from Lenovo in terms of the manufacturing process, now we can help them drive scope 2 and scope 3 sustainability. And last but not least, I want to give you one other thought, which is when we talked about renewable. On average today, the current enterprise drives roughly 12 to 14% renewable energy on average. Some do 0, some do a little more than that. When you sit down and look at comparison of a public cloud, again, I'm using AWS as an example, but Azure and Google, they publish, they're a little bit cagier about publishing these numbers. So those are estimated, but when you look at Google and Azure, they're in similar space. What we're seeing is next year, AWS is committed to 80% renewable power to drive 100% of the consumption in their data centers. And by 2030, that's going to be 100%. So when you sit down and combine that, PUE efficiency, server utilization and virtualization, and renewability. Now we can actually help an enterprise meet and achieve those sustainability initiatives that they're now having to report to the board. And we can do that, and that's a way that your partners can differentiate themselves, to think about the problem differently, to drive the problem differently, and ultimately, this is where hybrid bridges that gap. Pratik, I hope that answers your question.
Oh, definitely. So then, as you said, the answer isn't, let's go to the cloud. So then, as it pertains to like sustainability, how can channel partner deliver that most optimal solution, to their customers? Because basically one answer doesn't fit all. So
yeah, and for a shameless plug of my division, this is where CloudLogic comes in, and this is where we can sit down and work with them to understand what is their current state, discover their environment, be able to work with them in terms of what are their technical and strategic goals, and then help them put together a series of initiatives that help them deliver on those goals, whether it's public cloud, private cloud, a hybrid data center. Well, it's always hybrid data center, public cloud, private cloud, and on-prem. We're here to help them figure out the right portfolio mix that then helps them be able to achieve those goals with their board.
Perfect. Thank you. So expanding on what you kind of mentioned earlier, Marini, about the circular economy, could you discuss how Lenovo is working with partners along the value chain for sustainability practices?
Definitely. Thanks, Pratik. So we are working with a range of stakeholders, not just our partners. So we work with our customers, employees, suppliers, investors, regulators, members of the communities in which we operate, and other stakeholders who are impacted by ESG performance. So we do both direct and indirect stakeholder engagement, either through regular business practices or through interacting with target key stakeholders. So our efforts have been recognized, particularly working with suppliers on climate change, and we received a CDP score of A, for example, on our 2021 supplier engagement rating regarding climate change. And also, so if you look at our engagement so far, it's been more with our upstream ecosystem, right? So working with suppliers, etc. But now we are making inroads into our downstream ecosystem. So that naturally includes our customers as well as our service providers and distribution partners. So to us, we are convinced that to address sustainability properly, we have to work together with the life cycle assessment of our products, which is why we have set up the Lenovo 360 Circle, working in tandem with our customers and our partners.
Okay. So then, why does Lenovo think that this work is important, or at least, how do we get the message across about why it's important?
Definitely. So it's important because different organizations are navigating their sustainability journeys on their own and achieving mixed results. And sustainability is so broad and complex, right? With what Etienne just presented on the data center, you can tell like there are different permutations, different things you can do. And if you try to work on your own, it's going to be extremely difficult. So you do need to work with others, right? So who bring in different levels of expertise, different knowledge, and best practices. So that's why we consider collaboration as key to drive change and achieve sustained impacts faster.
So then, Marini, I know we haven't really talked about, solutions, and I definitely know, when customers, they're looking for to implement any kind of sustainability kind of initiatives, they need a variety of those solutions. Could you share details about at least maybe some of the Lenovo's products and services that can really help them with those initiatives?
Yeah, definitely. Just a second. So so what we do is, as I mentioned earlier, we are committed to sustainable products and services solutions to our partners and our customers. So we work on a lot of innovative technologies that do not only serve current but future needs as well. And we look at this through 3 lenses. So smarter circular design, where we look at designing products without, waste or pollution, using sustainable materials, incorporating recycled content, etc., as I've already shared. And then we also look at it through the lens of smarter circular use. So optimizing the use of products and resources, optimizing repair and reuse of parts and energy of efficiency of products. And then the last bit is on smarter circular return, where we are looking at how we control resources when product reaches the end of life. So very much IT assets end of life, ITAD, and how we manage the whole process. So in terms of products and services along the spectrum of what I've said, we do have a wide range of products. If I was going to go into all our products that have sustainability features, probably take the whole conversation. But if we look at our PC products, for example, if you look at our ThinkPad portfolio, our ThinkPad Z, as I mentioned earlier, is made of recycled aluminum. It has recycled black vegan leather, an AC powered adapter that uses 90% post-consumer content. If we also look at our Lenovo tablets, right, our recently launched Lenovo Tab Extreme has a chassis that's made up of 100% recycled aluminum and packaging that is 100% plastic free. And then if we move on and we look at some of our server products, right, because a lot of this conversation is around cloud efficiency. One of the key innovations that we have is called the Neptune cooling technology, which very much tackles the data center cooling head on and enhances performance. It saves energy, and also it makes energy reuse a reality within a data center setting. So you would find the Neptune liquid cooling technology within like some of the Think systems, including SD650N, XD650N, V2, etc. So if you just look up Neptune liquid cooling technology, you should be able to find all our server products that include that component. But we do have a wide range, and I'd advise you to check out our CES announcements that came, which have a lot of our sustainability products and features highlighted. And then also when we do launch the Lenovo 360 Circle, we will have some LPH pages on our Lenovo Partner Hub that would have a lot of information on some of these products and links to learn more about them.
Perfect. I'm glad you mentioned Neptune, because that was the server that was featured as part of the DreamWorks release of the animation movies that they're releasing. So definitely, if you need more information about that, you can just Google Neptune and DreamWorks, and you'll see that you'll see the information that's there, and it's not secret, as everything is out there. So definitely find it on the web. If you can't, reach out to us. But next, let me move on to Jack. As we kind of discussed the Lenovo services and even the products that we're just talking about, could you kind of help the channel partners and VARs that are in the audience to really understand, how they can engage you for Lenovo and Ingram Micro services? Because a lot of these services that we talked about were Lenovo, but Ingram actually has their whole portfolio of services as well.
Sure. So I did mention before that this is also a learning experience for me. I've already been typing up a lot of notes from the other great presenters. A good way to reach out to us is just honestly through email. I'm going to be attaching a little one-pager in the chat later that will have some steps that I'll go over for the demo, and it's also got our contact information. Email is, I guess, first if people really want to call. I love talking to people, getting to better understand their problem. And I also do love a Teams call, because those are really nice with more people working from home. You can share your screen. We can discuss what you're seeing and hopefully come up with some type of resolution.
Perfect. Yep. So then, Jack, this is more of maybe an insider secret for me, but really, can you tell us about some of the services that you're currently quoting that that other channel partners are really including in their bombs and configs? Something that that it's an everyday thing, but not all the partners are doing it.
I would definitely want to plug our Premier support. Lenovo offers this Premier option that, say your server goes down, you can get right on the phone with somebody. It's a designated support person from Lenovo, and they're going to stay with you throughout the process and throughout the issue that you're working through. So that's a really great Lenovo plug. A lot of what I do kind of day to day is helping partners with warranty upgrades like Premier support, or like some other ones, Foundation, Essential, Advanced. You also might know those as Next Business Day, 24/7/4, or 24/7/2 hours for the Advanced.
So then, just maybe a follow up here. Some of the sustainability type of service that we talked about, CO2 offsetting. Have you seen a progression or at least an increase in the ask for that?
Yeah, I have seen some of that. It's definitely a new thing that I'm working to better understand, but I am seeing that, and it's cool that we're having that impact and I'm able to help with it.
Perfect. Yep. Thanks. So, and finally, I have a question for all my guests. As each one of you really has a different touch point with the partner community, could you share what you're hearing and seeing, from your customers? Marini, how about you? what's your experience?
Definitely. So I mainly interact with partners and not customers, but what I'm seeing is I've been at Lenovo for a year now, and I joined when the circle had just started. And in the last year, I've seen us ramp up our own sustainability performance, but also the partners within the Lenovo 360 circle, including Ingram, have really ramped up their sustainability performance, ramped up how they're engaging with customers, ramped up how they're engaging internally around sustainability and getting the message out there. And connected to that, I have also seen a keen interest in life cycle extension. So you just spoke about our carbon offset service, for example. But there's also a keen interest in a lot of services, IT services that are around sustainability. So whether it's carbon offset services, whether it's asset recovery services, or whether it's device as a service. So the services that are looking at how we use IT sustainably, but also how we extend the life cycle of IT products, how we ensure we are refurbishing, and how we ensure that we are reducing our reliance on minerals and mining minerals out of, existing devices, etc. So it's really exciting, all that's happening, and looking forward to us pushing the needle on this.
Perfect. Thank you. Jack, what are you hearing from your partners?
Big question I hear from my partners is we've got some hardware and we'd love to know what the status is. Is it covered? So that's something I'd like to go over at the end of the talk with that demo that'll be going through and how we can answer that question.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Jack. ATN, I'll let you have the final word on this topic. Sorry, I think you might be muted. Did you get muted by me?
I'm muted. Thank you very much. Sustainability amongst most of the partners I'm working with is something that flies well below the radar. This isn't, and when we sit down and talk to them about how sustainability can be a way to literally differentiate yourself with your enterprise customers, there's usually a moment where there's disbelief, like, well, wait, why does my customer care about it? Well, hang on. Do you understand what their sustainability initiatives are? Well, and literally, if it's a public company, we take them back to their 10K and their annual report and say, do you see this? I guarantee you that your vice president of infrastructure has a line item in his MBOs that says he has to solve for this. If you can go and approach him on this angle and go back to, we can help you solve for your MBOs, you become that trusted disruptor for that client. And it's a way to differentiate yourself while everyone else is talking speeds and feeds. You're playing three-dimensional chess with your client. So we use it as a way to help clients get better traction because, again, it flies below the radar of most partners. I guarantee you that most of your partners are not calling you and saying, please tell me about your sustainability capabilities. But when you help them sit down and look at it from a perspective of this is a way to differentiate yourself with your customer, it becomes a game changer for them. So with that, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for all that great insight. Yeah, I love having a conversation about this topic. I'm going to put a link in the chat for the next Tech Talk that's happening in February. But I just thought I'd get it out before before you say receive an email. But it's in the box. But now I thought let's move on to the hands-on demonstration. Really it's about some of the common Lenovo tools that basically Jack and his team actually work on it pretty much every day to figure out, okay, how do we help the partners to become really more self-sufficient and really just have a better experience with Lenovo support. Jack, could you start the demo?
Yeah, happy to pop this one off. I'm having a little bit of issues attaching the file I want to in the chat. So Pratik, I'm gonna chat that to you right now, and hopefully we can get it out to everybody either after or during the meeting.
Okay.
So if you just give me 1 second to send it to you, Pratik, and then I'll get started with the demo.
Thanks.
Okay.
If you want, you could actually send it to me afterwards, and you can just start the demo, and we can attach it afterwards if it doesn't come through.
All right, I did send it over email and I'll get started now.
Okay, thank you.
So kind of alluding to one of my first questions that I get the most is what's the status of my server and how can we maybe get it under warranty if it's out of warranty. Start sharing my screen. Oops, get to the presentation. Everything look good?
Yep, I see it.
Great. So the most common thing that I kind of start with is the warranty part number. Here is the lovely one pager that I put together earlier today. And anybody can use any of these websites that I've attached in this spreadsheet. Our contact information is at the bottom with our team extension, all of our emails. So that's for everybody to look for. So going back to the warranty lookup site, this is what I'll start with when I know the serial number. And I can see that this is a SR250. Looks like it's got the base warranty, so it has the next business day warranty for 3 years. It shows us the warranty end date and when it started. One other thing I did want to point out, I've got another tab with a server that has Premier support. So that'll show up in purple. And this is just a good indicator to notify that you do have Premier support if anyone's wondering what a good call out for that would be.
So Jack, I did have one question.
Sure.
Can you only look this up through the serial number, or are there other indicators that you could use to be able to look up the same information?
We're gonna need the serial number. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty much the best and the only way I know of really to look up the status.
Okay.
So the next stop on the roadmap is going to be the services catalog. This is a website that Lenovo has that has every single warranty part number you could ever want on there. I believe that's going to be my third tab. So there's kind of two ways of using this site. If you want, you can put your server information in this left box once it loads, and some part number should pull up for you there. I'm always looking for this machine type. It's usually the first 4 numbers of the server SKU, but it's what we use to identify the correct warranty for servers. So I will stick that in here. Click on the first one, and all of the warranty part numbers should load up below. I did allude to another way to use this website is you can download the entire catalog. I'm pretty comfortable with Excel, so this is what it looks like if you download it. This column D is where you can also put the machine type that you would like to look up. Let's kind of reduce some filters here. Maybe you know that your end user asked specifically for a 5-year warranty. So under the description, we'll just stick a 5 right here. Y for 5 years. And now this is a lot more manageable and pretty easy to tell what your partner is looking for, whether it be foundation support, which is next business day, or essential support, which is 24/7/4. So if worst case scenario, maybe you've got some older hardware, maybe some part numbers don't come up, that'll be the last step on the roadmap, which is going to be the end of support catalog. Lenovo is pretty good about maintaining warranty options for hardware. If anything does go out of warranty, they do have a lot of post warranties, but one thing I do like to check if all the other options don't come up with anything is the end of services site. You'll want to put in whatever country code for the end user. Typically for me, it's North America. You can type in any machine type. Let's go with the top 7Z21 and the model. And this should be able to tell us when that hardware is going to be going end of warranty. If if you've got some hardware that maybe it expired at the end of 2022, then I'm happy to have that conversation with Lenovo and see if we can get an extension through a contract. Contracts are very good for when you have a large amount of hardware that maybe you all want to be co-termed to a certain date. I know that can be a really great solution and kind of like a set it and forget it kind of option that a lot of people enjoy. I didn't want to go too heavy into contracts given that they're a little more complicated than the typical request. But this is kind of a preview of what I do day to day on just kind of handling a lot of basic warranty requests.
Okay. So then, this sounds like a lot of steps. If I don't want to do any of this work, well, how can I reach out to you? Is there like an email or what I can, how can I send my request and say, hey,
Oh yeah.
my warranty expired or what the status is?
Yep. So you can email myself, but I definitely would say to email our team mailbox. We did switch to a different email system recently called Zendesk, and I think it's been a great tool to help us keep on track and make sure that everybody's getting their responses instead of things kind of getting a little jumbled in our personal mailboxes. But definitely the team mailbox, and if anybody wants, we're always open to schedule a meeting or just even take a quick call to go over some things.
Perfect. Is that it for the demo? Do we have
Yeah.
any additional? Okay, perfect. Yep. Thanks you, Jack. I really appreciate that.
Cool.
So in conclusion, I want to say, I get it. I understand the relationship between sustainability and technology is an important one, but it's a complex one. But as channel partners and VARs, your customers rely on you to help help them really navigate the changes and to really help them understand how it affects them and what solutions they have access to. For those reasons, I hope today's session has really provided that valuable insights on the importance of sustainability, and we encourage you to continue to learn and explore this topic. If you need help getting started, reach out to the Ingram Micro team, myself, Jack, anybody on the Ingram Micro side, and we can help you connect the dots. On a final note, I would like to thank Marina, ATN, and Jack for taking the time out to be here and really sharing their knowledge with us. That's it for now. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.